In today's video, we're going to go over my all-new wheel and tire setup for my 2022 Jeep Wrangler Xtreme Recon Rubicon. Now, I know if you guys have been watching this channel, you saw me customize the factory Xtreme Recon wheels. We did a couple wheeling trips in those, and honestly, they did tremendously well. However, after we put the Clayton 3.5-inch lift kit, I knew I needed to go bigger. So I asked you guys what you wanted to go with, what you would like to see on this channel, and ultimately, I took all that, mixed it into one hat, and picked out what I think is the perfect setup for my Jeep. So on the wheel, I decided to go with the KMC Tank beadlock wheel. Now, I decided to go with the anthracite inside and the black ring with the zinc bolts. Now, what I really liked about this, because I have an Xtreme Recon, honestly, I like that anthracite interior of the Xtreme Recon wheel. And getting this in person, it is very, very close. I'll have to do a side-by-side with my dad's Jeep, but these are very, very close to what they would look like. Now, the other reason I chose this wheel is obviously because it is a beadlock and it's gonna allow me to air much further down when I go out on the trails. And then the next reason, well, let's just be honest, they look badass. I think that KMC makes an absolutely killer looking wheel, and no matter which trim that you get, they make these in bronze, red, black, or anthracite like this, so they give you a ton of options. Another cool thing that I really had to factor into consideration was the offset of these wheels. They make them in a -35 or a -15, just so that they'll tuck further a little bit up underneath my fender flares, give it a nice aggressive stance, but not poke out too wide and create added stress to my Dana 44 axles. And then the funny thing with these KMC wheels, they actually include 2 valve stem holes. So I had to get one for my TPMS and then one for a standard valve stem to go into the other side. That might be a future video, upgrading to a monster valve or an apex. I was really up in the air on what tire to pick. You guys made a ton of great suggestions. The Yokohama Geolander was a big contender, Cooper STT Pro. I had some Nittos thrown in the mix, but ultimately I kept coming back to the Mickey Thompson Baja Boss MT. These have been run a lot more frequently, and they are a newer tire that I've heard nothing but good things about. They come with a power ply sidewall, a very aggressive side biter if you're familiar with the old Mickey Thompson Baja claws, so they almost reminiscent of that, and these things just look, and from what I can tell and read, they are going to perform very well. I really like the tread pattern on them. They're siped very nicely, and they have grooves to kind of push out the rocks and the smaller stones instead of flying them up and destroying my hinges more than I already have. I went with the 12.5 just to give it a nice bit of stance, and then also to match up well with that 9-inch wheel that I chose. Now, I went with a 37. I really contemplated going up to a 40, but I think with stock axles and even stock 456 gearing that I have on the Xtreme Recon, I think that these are going to suit that a lot better. Let me know what you guys think in the comment if you like the look of these and if you've heard anything about them, or if you think I should have chose something different, drop a comment below, because my dad's Jeep is always a work in progress and we can pick a new selection for his. We're gonna get these all mounted up. That's gonna take a little bit of time. I did 3 already and I was waiting on 2 wheels to show up. And I also wanted to drop a comment below. I'll leave it in the description where we picked up the wheels and tires if you guys are interested in picking out the same for yours. All right guys, so first step, we are gonna go ahead and put our valve stems in. I found this handy dandy valve stem puller online and it was like $5 or $6, might be a little bit more now, but you just thread it on to here and it's just cable with a little T-handle. So you grip the wheel and that's it. You hear that little pop. Our valve stem is properly inserted. And this one, like I said, you do have to install 2. So that one's on. I like to put the caps back on. And then we do have our TPMS sensor here with the sensor in the back. These are specific for the 22s that were built after a certain date. So my tip is to go on Quadratech, find the part number, and then source the part number wherever you need to. I got mine on eBay. So we're gonna put those in also because I do wanna be able to properly read the TPMS sensors. You're putting this much time and effort into it, you may as well put a TPMS sensor. So we got our little foam brush here, our Dawn dish soap mixed with water, and this is the lubrication part. So get that tire nice and lathered up, and there's no real easy way to talk about this, guys. And what you want to make sure is that this is the inside. So Mickey Thompson actually says inside on here. They're not directional tires, but for some reason they want this to be the inside wall. And then I'm gonna put just a little bit on the wheel too. Just on the border, not too much, just to see if it helps a little. This is what cleans the Penguins. You've seen the commercials. And it'll also work for mounting Mickey Thompson Baja Boss MTs onto KMC tank wheels. Put that in your ad. All right, set this aside. It's time for the struggle fest. Put towels down because I didn't invest thousands in my flooring just to ruin it. My wife wouldn't be mad, I would be mad. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna set this onto the wheel. Now the goal in all this is to slowly get the bead to pop over that edge, but while also not letting this side come up too high and also not popping out. What we got going on, guys, is we have to get the edge of the bead to tuck in here. From what I found with these Mickey Thompsons, they're pretty tight. So it's actually been a little bit of a struggle for me because I did mount a couple of these off camera last night. So what we're doing with the screwdriver is just getting tucked underneath there and kind of just walking it around. I'm also making sure that it's not doing that, like that, making a nice nick out of the wheel. But we're just tucking that under, and we're gonna go around with a small rubber mallet too. We're kind of keeping an eye on it all the way around too, just to make sure that it stays on. This is where it starts to get fun. All right, guys, we just finished that one up. We got the wheel actually to go fully on the bead. It takes a little bit of time. It might actually help to have a buddy. Ryan behind the camera had to give me a hand with one of the screwdrivers to hold it. It's time to put the ring on and the 24 zinc plated bolts. These are 3/8 bolts, so you're gonna wanna torque them down to spec. Like I said, this is just kind of a limited how-to. Definitely do all your research on these, follow the manufacturer's instructions, and get it all done. So we're gonna actually put some anti-seize on all of these bolts, get them started, torque them all down, and show you the finished product and a little bit in between. First reason we're putting anti-seize on there, we live in the fine state of Pennsylvania, which means that everything rusts or corrodes. And my little guy upstairs, he's crying because he's thinking about all those guys that didn't put anti-seize on their bolts and they're now corroding. So I like to put in the bolts kind of sporadically throughout just to get the entire thing started. And you'll see that when you torque these down, you want to use a star pattern and kind of work your way up. You definitely don't want to bend the ring because it can happen. Even though this is probably 1/2 inch thick machined aluminum, you can still bend it. So don't go crazy. And if you don't know how to do this, definitely have a very good shop do it for you. For me personally, I just like to sit and do it and know that I did it correctly. Guys, if you aren't already subscribed to the channel, we're close to 10K. We're very close. If this video posts and we've already hit it, thank you so much. But we're like, what are we, 98.46 at the point that we're filming this? So we're like 154 away. 150 more Jeep lovers to jump onto this channel. Keep that bite in, please. Yeah. Yes, honey, you should. Sometimes my wife just wonders what I'm doing down here with Ryan in the room off the garage that is now officially, if the IRS is watching, home office. Write-off. Write-off. That's a write-off. There's that bit where it's like, no, it's a write-off. Do you even know what a write-off is? Yeah, you just write it off. Who writes it off? You do? So we are using an impact. Be careful if you're using one of these. Don't just go hammer down on each side. I'm just getting these started so I don't have to sit there with a hand ratchet. But mind you, this isn't a how-to. This is just how I do it. So what I'm doing now is I'm running a star pattern all the way around and getting these torqued down to the proper rated torque spec listed with the wheel. For every wheel you go, there will be a proper torque spec. And this becomes the tedious part because you have to do it in a star pattern. But with 24 bolts, as you start pulling it all down, the goal of this is to pull it all down nice and even so it pinches in here. And as you can see, we do have a nice even gap, but it's going to continue to pull down. What I do to seat these or to like beat up the tire, just use a little of that Dawn dish soap. So you're gonna get this, you wanna get this inner ring here or this inner bead to set. So I put Dawn dish soap just so it pops easier. It'll probably make a popping noise. When you're filling these up, I like to use a long enough one and I fill up and keep my hands away from anything just because we're working with air pressure. And you guys know mounting tires, just so it pops a little easier. You don't need to do this, but it'll pop on a lot easier and it's just dish soap, so. Beads popped on, now we can just fill up the tire. I'm gonna fill them up to 38, run them on the Jeep and just make sure we don't have any leaks anywhere, but that's it. Let's fill this up the rest of the way. This is number 4, so we should be able to put all 4 on. I just gotta mount one more for the spare, so that's good for the night. Well guys, through the magic of video editing, it is the next day. Now I can tell you I spent pretty late last night working on the beadlocks, mounting them up, making sure that they were all perfectly correct, and then retorquing everything once again. It's very crucial on a project like this is to just go through and make sure you do it the right way, because safety is in mind when you're running one of these. So we have the 37s mounted up, we've got the Clayton 3.5-inch kit, and I think this is the perfect size setup. I still have plenty of clearance in the fender flares. I'm gonna check the bump stops and see how those articulate when we go out into the trail, but this video is about the wheels and tires. This KMC tank wheel, I am absolutely thrilled with the way it turned out. It came with 3/8-inch zinc plated hardware, as well as 2 valve stem holes, and that anthracite color I just think matches up with the high vis and everything we've got going on this Jeep absolutely perfectly. Let me know what you guys think about these wheels and tires though. I love them. That's probably because I paid a good amount for them, but I really like the way that this looks. Ryan does too behind the camera, and I think I'm happy I went with the 37s instead of the 40s. Could I go bigger in the future? Yes, but I might do an axle swap, or maybe we'll do a Hemi swap or something really crazy on this Jeep. Until next time though, I'm Matt with Dirt Road Cred. Get out there and earn yours.